Welcome back. This is Reality Check. I'm Monica Zukas. We're touching tonight on the Sandy Hook tragedy. I have a 9-year-old son. He's at an elementary school Monday through Friday. And to think of someone barging in his school and murdering 20 children and 6 adults, teachers, people trying to protect him is sickening. And of course, if there was an easy answer, we would implement it and everything would be okay. Before the break, Larry was talking a little bit about guns, and Andy Shelby had a comment. He's the principal of Heron Elementary School. Andy, go ahead with your comment or your thought.
I just want to mention this. You know, one of the things that the policy that I've always adapted, the kids, I use it as a bank account. When you come into the school, you have to have proper access to the school. You have to have your proper account number. You know, whenever you go to Congress, you go to a tour of Washington, D.C., you have to go through a metal detector. You know, you have to go through these proper procedures to get into Washington, D.C.
But then we have our most precious resources,
right.
Our babies.
You know,
and until a few years ago, you could just barge in.
You could walk in. So, you know, there has to be a definite outlook and a redefining of what school safety is. Unfortunately, this time on Friday that we had is going to redefine what we do from here on out.
Absolutely.
And from there, I remember specifically when I went to my, Washington, D.C. tour, and I walked through that door, I had to go through a metal detector in the 1980s. And this has got to be updated to what we have. And I'm not saying we need to have a metal detector. I'm not saying that this needs to be what have you, but we need to think, those congressmen making decisions, they make sure that no one in there is carrying a gun
Absolutely.
when they walk into that place. And so, therefore, we need to make sure that that's the same issue for our children.
And one of the things I spoke with our principal today, Mr. Fletcher, and I said, why did we implement the locked doors in the first place? You know, you can go in the first doors, and there's kind of a breezeway, and then there's a second set of double doors that are locked, and you're not getting through those unless you are buzzed by the office. And he said, you know what? The main reason we implemented those was custody issues. Mom might be irate, and it may not be her day, and she may barge in, or it might be dad. And I thought, yeah, that's a good idea. And as strict as the rules are, we sat in a room adjacent to the school office, and he said, look, though, how huge this window is. Yeah. If somebody wants to come kick this window in and get in, they're going to get in. And there are different access doors throughout the school that are locked, but I'm a familiar face. I guarantee you if I go to that school and knock, 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 one of those students is going to notice me. There's Nicholas' mom. They'll let me right in. And a lot of times, unfortunately, like with this kid, he was a familiar face. His mother was a substitute teacher or an aide at this school. So I don't think there is one answer to totally foolproof protect the children. But I do believe, yes, Larry and I spoke today whenever I got to go to the shooting range, and one thing he said is the first responders, the 911 people, the police officers that show up after the call are a minimum of 3 to 6 to 10 minutes away. 26 people are dead.
That's right. I will tell you, I called the Winston County dispatcher, it's been a couple of years ago now, for information to use in my class. I live about 300 yards north of the Johnson County line down the south end of the county, Lake of Egypt. I asked him, I said, look, if I called you up at 3 in the morning and I had a problem, a real serious problem, somebody trying to break in or whatever, and I asked for a car to come out, how long do you think it would be here? Well, she says, we got at that time they had 2 deputies on duty in the whole county. She said if they weren't tied up on another call, probably 20, 30 minutes.
Everybody is dead in the home.
That's right. They could have killed me and my wife several times. So from the time that you call that, make that 911 call, to the time that they get there, you're on your own. You're the first responder.
You are the
police
first
officer
responder.
is the second responder.
And whether we like it or not, our teachers and our guidance counselors and our secretaries are the first responders for our babies.
Exactly right.
And we are,
exactly right.
we're unarmed at that point. So I mean, that's
if Mr. Adkins had a gun, I would be fine with that.
Yeah.
If Mr. Shelby had a gun, I would be fine with that too. And my sweet boy's 9 years old, and whenever he caught it on the media, because he did, I don't force feed it to my child, but I don't lie. I told him, this will probably never happen at your school. But if it does, and you cannot run and get away, play dead. What kind of world are we living in when we have to tell our 5 to 12-year-olds, play dead if there's a shooter in your school?
The thing is that at Heron Elementary, I have an armed resource officer, which I'm very proud of the fact that I have that. And funding for that is very tight. I understand that. But, after this recent situation, I don't see that being a problem. I don't see that, officers in the parking lot, I don't see that being a problem. That is part of a necessary part of kids being educated today and being safe. The first and foremost, they got to be safe.
One of the arguments, and it was somebody on my Facebook page, and it was actually a relative of mine. She said, for the NRA to come out and say that we need to fight guns with more guns is like Alcoholics Anonymous telling their people to drink more whiskey. Why does that not make sense, or why is that a relevant fight?
Completely.
Well, let me preface this by saying that guns are not the answer to everything, but when you need one, you'll need it really, really badly. There will be no other substitute. And I'll give you an example of me. I'm 67 years old. Some 25-year-old ex-con breaks into my house, and he spent the last 5 years in Chester or someplace up here in a prison lifting weights.
He has nothing to lose.
What? I'm not going to win that, okay?
Right.
The gun makes me the equal of that situation. The same thing with schools and so on and so forth. You can apply it to a lot of different situations.
Well, and if somebody's coming into your home, or if somebody's busting into that school, their intentions are not good.
That's exactly
and you
right.
have to meet it with some sort of force.
You have to assume that. I tell people in class that if somebody's, for instance, breaking into your house, you have to assume he's there to kill you. If you assume he's there to get your big screen TV or to take your silverware, your level of violence that you exert to get this guy under control will not be high enough. So you assume he's there to do you in, and then you'll go to that top level of violence, which, again, we tell folks that that's a gun. That's the thing that'll make you the equal of whoever's coming into your house. Now, you asked a question about, forgot what the question was. Now
assault weapons?
Yes.
One of the main things I keep hearing everybody say, I spoke with my parents before I did my show tonight, and my mom said, why do ordinary citizens need to have access to assault weapons? Shouldn't they be limited to the military? Why can Monica Zukas, if I want, and I clear, and I don't have any crazy medical issues, and I have a FOID card or whatever, why should I be able to have an assault weapon?
Look, I can do about 15 or 20 minutes on that subject, and you don't have enough time. I'll do the best I can in a couple of minutes. Number one...
Do you think that I deserve to own an assault weapon?
Well, let me ask you this question, and this is the question you need to ask everybody when they say assault weapon. You tell me what an assault weapon is.
No clue. To me, in my mind, in my uneducated mind, an assault weapon is a gun that can hold a lot of bullets, and I can hurt a lot of people really short amount of period of time.
Okay, good. Let me tell you, the people that should know this, the Department of Defense defines an assault weapon as a particular kind of rifle that can shoot either fully automatic, that is, you press the trigger and the gun will empty the magazine, or until you release the trigger, it will keep shooting. Semi-automatic, on the other hand, means that you have to press the trigger to get to shoot every time you want a bullet to fly.
One press is one bullet shot.
Exactly right. What has happened here, the liberal media, by doing dishonest things on TV, has blurred the distinction between semi-auto and machine guns.
Everybody bet they
thinks
have.
Assault weapons are machine guns. They aren't. Well, they aren't in civilian hands. You just shot an AR-15 today, and you asked me an interesting question. Does AR mean automatic rifle?
That's what I thought it meant. AR-15, automatic rifle.
I thought about that. That's the first two letters of the initial of the company that first made the rifle back in about 1958. Now, you ask, why should the individual have an assault rifle? All right. First of all, I have AR-15s, and they're not assault rifles. I don't have an assault rifle. Nobody in the state of Illinois has one because you can't have one.
Well, they do, but they're not supposed to.
It's illegal to have an assault rifle that is a fully automatic gun in the state of Illinois, period. All right?
So you have an AR-15?
Yes.
What do you do with your AR-15?
Well, it was, at one time I used to do some target shooting with this. As a matter of fact, it's the one you played with today. We shot a little bit today. It's just really kind of a fun gun. I do some low-level competitions, Appleseed project things, and so on and so forth with it. Let me give you an idea how this can be handy to you, why you might want these things. Let's say, and this happens, this is not a made-up deal. You can ask police about this. Frequently these days, people that break into your house come in teams. It won't be the lone burglar like it was when 1956.
No peeping Toms coming in for your undies.
That's exactly right. It's more serious than that. They'll come in teams, and they'll come in frequently when you're there with your wife. Years ago, the old burglar used to wait for a couple of days, watch your house, Make
Wait
sure
till
you're
husband's gone.
Go in and get your stuff and leave. Nowadays they come in, put a gun to your head, tell your husband, I want the combination to the gun safe, which he couldn't get if there wasn't somebody there to give it to him. I like all the drugs, and I like all the money and all the jewelry, all right?
All the prescription drugs, might I add.
That's right. What is your husband going to do? He's going to go get them, am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly right. Now, let's say you have multiple assailants in your living room, and you're in the middle of your bedroom, and you've got one of these, quote, assault weapons. The right name actually is semi-automatic military-style firearm, all right, or rifle. Well, this thing might have a 30-round magazine or a 20-round or whatever you choose to put in it. It might be pretty handy to use in this particular situation simply because you have a lot of people in the middle in the living room wanting to do you harm. They're short, they're handy, they use a very low power. Now, you won't get this in the media. You keep hearing about these high-powered assault weapons. The rifle, the AR-15, shoots what's called a 223 round, which is a round used to kill rodents, prairie dogs, groundhogs, that kind of stuff. They're not very effective on humans. And I would, if you got time, I'll get into the reasons behind that. If you don't, we'll talk about it after on the air here. But nonetheless, you might want that rifle in the case of multiple assailants with that great big magazine.
Because a lot of people aren't coming in by themselves anymore. A lot of people are whacked out on drugs. They're alcoholics. They're drug addicts. They want money. They want jewelry. They want something now, and they're coming in with their buddies to get it.
The rifle is far more effective than the handgun is.
So the short answer is, I might want this weapon to protect myself.
That's exactly right.
And to protect my son and to protect my husband. Maybe Mama's got the gun when the assailants are coming in.
Exactly right.
We have to take another quick break, and then we're going to be into the last 15 minutes of the show. Please stay with us. I'm Monica Zukas as a reality check. We're talking guns. We're talking about the tragedy at Sandy Hook Elementary. I have a principal here with me this evening. I have a gun expert here with me this evening. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.